Okay, today is January the 14th, 2012. Middle of freaking winter. And I thought I'd do a little video to show you our wounded soldier here. And surprisingly, it's not the Kodiak this time, it's the Honda. We recently had the Honda out on a little trip, if you want to call it that, the other day, some trail riding. And she decided that the famous metal plague that seems to have been plaguing this bike since we got it, frame and everything else as we showed you that's been replaced, well, this time the swing arm decided it was going to break. And break it did. And caused some major, serious damage to this four-wheeler. We're going to rebuild it, as per usual, but she took some serious damage when we got her towed home. It took a lot to get this thing towed home. We had to bring it out in two pieces. We had to take the rear end out of it. We had to, as you can tell here, it broke the shock. I had the swing arm out of it at the moment, and you can tell, looking at the back of the engine, it broke the rear crankcase cover, it broke the rear output shaft in half, and unfortunately, even though this is a perfectly, the best part of the bike was the engine, perfectly working 350, the engine is toast. In order to rebuild this engine, it would involve me have to literally strip it down to the last bolt and the last washer. I'd have to take the case apart, the whole top end apart, and basically I'd end up having to split the case in half and rebuild it to get the shaft in it. So, being as that's a bigger job than any of us really want to get into, we have decided, reluctantly, that I'm going to buy a complete lower end of the engine, which is everything down here, and use this, my top end, which is the jug and the head and piston, and completely rebuilt the engine. And then on top of that, we have to put the rear end back together. And I'll show you here. This is the swing arm that was in the the Honda. And you can see she split clean off the rear axle, which I'll show you in a few minutes. Okay. If you could picture this would be in the four-wheeler like so, and that there would be attaching the rear axle. And out here is the rear end, which we had to carry that home literally in two pieces. And you can see where the rear arm was attached at one time to the four-wheeler. I mean, seriously, look at it. The damage it done. It's just incredible. And it even broke, well, it looks pretty rotten anyway. That was the shock, where the shock used to be. Broke the shock off, broke the axle off, and it even broke the diff box. As you can tell, the one corner of the diff box is all busted. Broke all the bolts out of that. This I think I can salvage. I hope I can. And the only thing that worries me is you can see inside this diff box, you can see some of the teeth are broke a little bit. Hopefully that's not going to make a big problem. I do have a spare diff box because if you recall in the other videos, this was actually a new rear end that I put into this bike, not the housing. The housing is obviously, this here is all part of the swing arm. But I replaced this and the axle itself not so long ago. Just to give you some idea, you can see that this world famous box used to be part of this. Kind of went on here, something like so. Yeah, you can just tell it's like bad metal or something, but Anyway, you get the idea of what happened here. You can see she's split in there. Came apart. You can even see in here just how much that metal tore apart. Like, honestly, I talked to Honda dealers and representatives and people of all walks of life, and they said even in the worst of times, they've never heard of a Honda breaking a rear swing arm. They heard them happen in the Yamahas. This little Kodiak had a bad swing arm. It broke its swing arm clean off, and this doesn't even have a rotten frame. That just seems to be a notorious thing, but the little Honda seems to have some kind of metal fatigue. So, once I get this swing arm replaced, and the engine replaced, basically this four-wheeler, this four-wheeler, there'll be nothing left of the original 2001, which we started off with, including the engine. I mean, she was a good working bike, and regrettably, she's not. So, what do you do? Alright, we'll finish up that video. Sorry about that, we have a little technical glitch there. This is not the ideal working conditions to have, to be working in, unfortunately. It's crap on that light. But, like I said, she needs, I mean, it's a shame, like I said, there's the back end. There's some more of the rear end damage. Those that like to see rear end damage, there it is. And see, there's the piece that actually broke off the back end of the rear cover, was right here. That's actually not supposed to be separate from the four-wheeler. That's your speed sensor. That's where your output shaft would have came through, and that's where it would attach to the case. She did quite a number. So, we will keep you posted as we do the rebuild, because obviously the plastic's got to all come off. The whole engine's got to come apart. Wow, it's a big job. It's a big job, but as they say, we're into it now. There's the rear end.